can. Spins a web any size. Catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man.
Truly, this is a homecoming not just for Peter Parker, but for Marvel's prodigal son. This is the second reboot for the web slinger, but the first to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You can see the Marvel influence with a lighter tone and humor, a trend that has become a staple with Marvel movies, but also a staple for Spider-Man himself.
Excuse me, can I come in this way, or do I have to break my own window?
Homecoming skips the origin story of Spider-Man because how many more times do we need to see Uncle Ben get shot and die? Let the man rest in peace, I say. Instead, Homecoming takes place a couple months after Spider-Man's official introduction into the MCU, Captain America's Civil War, where Peter tries to adjust to being a street-level hero after having taken part in such a big battle. He's eager to do more and thinks he's ready, but Peter is still new at being Spider-Man, and also understanding his powers, but doesn't consider the consequences of his actions and takes on too much in order to prove he's ready for the Avengers, which results in his plans blowing up in his face, but that's what you call the Parker luck.
Come down here and fight like a man!
I don't suppose I could convince you to come up here and fight like a spider.
Now, what's different in Homecoming when compared to the previous Spider-Man films is Peter is still in high school, and his high school life is as awkward as it can be. Tom Holland is spectacular as both Spider-Man and Peter Parker. His take on Peter as a nervous, awkward kid is what I believe to be the most accurate take on the character. Peter is not smooth and lousy when it comes to girls, and I think Holland nailed that aspect of the character.
I feel so distant. I have nobody. Except you, of course. You're always here for me. You're rock solid. And best of all, you laugh at all my jokes. Bruce, you're a heck of a guy.
As for his take on Spider-Man, I immediately loved him in Civil War. He had the wittiness, humor, and funny zingers. I don't know if it was a change in director, or maybe Marvel just playing it safe, but in Homecoming I felt Spider-Man lacked the wittiness and those zingers that make Spider-Man who he is. The humor was there, but I felt Tom Spider-Man was lacking something, which is really disappointing since he was my favorite part about Civil War. I mean, Spider-Man in Homecoming felt just as awkward as Peter, and sure, I get he's still coming into his own, but I feel the Civil War version is better. By no means is this Tom Holland's fault. It could be just a change in director, or maybe just a change in writing that affected Spider-Man's take in this movie. I just think that as Spider-Man, Peter needed to be more assured and confident in himself instead of wondering what Tony Stark would think about, or what would the Avengers do in this situation.
Girl, Peter, you must meet her.
What's she like?
Oh, she has a wonderful personality.
Just as with each reboot, Peter got younger, as did Aunt May, who in Homecoming is played by Marissa Tomei, and while having the title for hottest Aunt May ever, she had some really touching moments with her nephew.
How many times do I have to say larb before?
Aunt May seemed to be the one Peter would turn to for help in his social life, just as Tony Stark would be the one he would turn to for help as Spider-Man. While a parental figure in Peter's life, and she did appear to be more motherly than in previous incarnations, Aunt May also came up as a best friend for Peter, something that we haven't seen before, which made her an even more enjoyable character. Aunt May truly looks out for Peter. Given the fact that she already lost her husband, she wants her nephew to be safe. She even tells him if she ever sees someone in trouble, just to run the other way just so he can be safe. I wish there was more scenes between Aunt May and Peter. Maybe some of them got cut out. But I guess it's a good idea for Peter to keep his secret identity from her, given the fact that she may just freak out. Homecoming also marks the first time that Peter's only friend isn't Harry Osborn, the backstabbing bastard. Instead, we get Ned Leeds. And I know his last name isn't Leeds in the movie, but come on, let's face it. This is totally Ned Leeds. Ned is the friend some of us wish we had in high school. Supportive, hilarious, and the guy in the chair. I loved the dynamic between the two, and Ned probably had the best reaction as to finding out Peter's alter ego. It just sucks that all of Ned's hard work in building that 3,803-piece Lego Death Star came crumbling down because Peter sucks at keeping his secret identity. Ned was also asking the important question as to what abilities does Peter exactly have.
Here, you're gonna need this.
I hate you so much.
Villains! are the one thing the MCU is really lacking, with Loki and the Red Skull being the best ones they produced, but the Red Skull hasn't appeared since Captain America the First Avenger. But Michael Keaton's Adrian Toomes, aka the Vulture, comes really close. In the past, Marvel villains have either tried to beat and upstage the hero, or at least shatter the ideals the heroes stand for. Unfortunately, most of these villains either die, or get sent to prison never to be heard from again, or just simply written off out of the story of the MCU. The Vulture, however, isn't a man looking for revenge or trying to take down the Avengers, let alone face them, or even Spider-Man. Adrian Toomes may have been wronged, but he sorely believes that he has been denied an honest way of living, and had to resort to stealing in order for him and his crew to get by. The Vulture is different when compared to other villains. He is not looking for the grandeur of things. He wants to stay out of sight, under the radar. But Spider-Man does not let that fly. The Vulture is sympathetic and looks out for his crew, but if pushed, well, that would be the last thing someone will ever do to him.
Only 6, huh? What happened? Lizard and Goblin had Nick's ticket? Gotta get some altitude. Deal with them one.
Previous Spider-Man movies suffer from having too many villains and not knowing what to do with them, but not in Homecoming. Here, the Vulture gets help from the Shocker and the Tinkerer, who just happen to be henchmen in his crew. Some groundwork was laid for these villains, as well as a few more, so I hope that pays off in the sequels to come. We'll have to wait to find out. Costuming is one aspect that is critical to a superhero movie. If the costume looks like crap, I feel like it takes a viewer out of the experience. The costumes for the past Spider-Man films have been okay, with the Tobey Maguire suit being pretty accurate except for the raised webbing lines and a darker red and blue color scheme. In Amazing Spider-Man, we got a more homemade looking suit. I didn't like it, it looked rubbery and weird, and plus the yellow lenses were pretty off-putting. In Amazing Spider-Man 2, the costume changed, and it became even more accurate, especially with the eyes. Still, it looks similar to Tobey Maguire's suit. Now, for Tom Holland's Spider-Man costume, I simply swooned for it. It's beautiful. It looked like Steve Ditko's design leapt from the comic book pages to live action. And the eyes moved! That was one genius move from the costuming department in order to get Spider-Man to accurately display his emotions with the eye movements like he does in the comics. It's comic book come to life. The costume has a brighter red and blue color scheme which matches the comic, a smaller spider chest symbol compared to the previous film costumes, exposed web shooters, and a fat red spider on the back. Classic Spider-Man if you ask me. This one is my favorite version of the suit. It's a bit more technologically advanced, since Tony made it. Because of it was technologically advanced, we got to see some different combinations of webbing. One of my favorite was the impact webbing and the web grenade. Even with all the technological advances, Peter learns that if you're nothing without the suit, then you shouldn't have it. As for Vulture's costume look, I really dig the direction that they went with. They could have easily copied the Falcon, but changed it a lot, with humongous wings, braces that cover the legs, a fighter pilot mask designed to look like a Vulture head, and a bomber jacket to mimic the fluff Vulture has around his neck in the comics. Probably the only bad costume design in this movie was the Shockers, and it wasn't even that bad. It was just a hoodie that was painted yellow, and his gauntlets were just repurposed Crossbones gauntlets. The movie keeps a street-level area, and we see Spider-Man confront obstacles we haven't seen him do before, like, what does he swing from if there are no buildings? The action was minimal compared to other superhero movies, but in the scenes action does happen, it is fast-paced. The camera does get a bit shaky, making it a little bit hard to follow the action. But overall, we see Spider-Man be the acrobatic webhead we know he is. You can also see how close Peter and Aunt May are. After the tragedy that has befallen them, they really are a close-knit family. Tom Holland, Marissa Tomei, and Jacob Batalon have great chemistry amongst them. But Tom Holland also plays off nicely with the other cast members as well, that highlight some great moments in the movie. One example is a relationship between Liz and Peter Parker. Liz is the girl who Peter crushes on, just like in the comics. But she has a small role and barely interacts with Peter, but in the scenes that she does interact, she approaches him and talks to him. And Peter can never seem to form a sentence, which is really hilarious. It was a natural response since he did what any other guy would do when the girl you like approaches you. You just Freeze. Another character relationship is between Peter Parker and Flash Thompson. In the comics, Flash Thompson is a big jock who just bullies Peter. He also adores Spider-Man, claiming to be his #1 fan. However, in Homecoming, he's not the big jock that we're used to seeing. In fact, he's pretty small. Maybe even smaller than Peter. But he is a rich, smug asshole kid. Maybe they changed it to reflect modern version of bullying. Here, Flash always tries to one-up Peter intellectually, and also looks out to humiliate him. It could be because Peter is a genius and well-liked amongst his peers, and everything just seems to come so easily to him. While Flash, who maybe studies and maybe works hard, is not very well-liked and it just looked like a smug asshole kid by his peers. Flash always seems to fall short, but he gets no sympathy. He's still a jerk and an asshole, who only looks out for himself. As for Zendaya's character, who everyone thought she was going to be Mary Jane, turns out she's just a character named Michelle. She reminded me of Ali Sheedy's character from The Breakfast Club, an observer. And it was hilarious to see her call Peter out every time he disappears and when they need him the most too. She always seemed to be in the right moment or place to make a sarcastic comment about Peter's life or just his choices. It'll be pretty interesting to see where they take this character given the groundwork they just laid out for her in Homecoming. The film does a well job of giving you an inside look of what a modern day of high school is. The high school part of the movies to me seemed to be inspired by a classic John Hughes film. It was a coming of age story for Peter Parker. The movie really stressed and highlighted the balance that Peter has in his life as both a superhero and a high school student, and that you can't always have it both ways. Sacrifices will be required on both sides of his life. I believe Marvel played it a bit safe, given that this is the second reboot in the last 10 years, but something still lacks me in this film. Another potential Tom Holland has as both Peter Parker and Spider-Man in Civil War. I feel his character was different in Homecoming, but I still enjoyed the film. And Michael Keaton as the Vulture was another bright spot for the movie. And I hope they do bring him back because this is the best villain Marvel has had since Loki and the Red Skull.
I like to start each day with a warm hug.
I am also looking forward to the villains that were teased in this movie. I have high hopes for the sequel. Spider-Man Homecoming for me was an 8 out of 10. Tom Holland does a spectacular work as both Peter and Spider-Man. But something is missing. Maybe the confidence and the wittiness we saw in Civil War. Thanks for watching Geek Night Review. Till next time, web slingers.
Tracks, get on the ceiling.
Spider Pig does whatever a Spider Pig does. Can he swing from a web? No, he can't. He's a pig. Look out, he is a Spider Pig.